everybody out there. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday edition of MLB Full Count from SportsMemo. I stepping into the hosting chair again. I don't get to host as much now, but I really enjoy doing so, and especially when I'm joined with Jesse Schule, the Iceman, and Jeff Michaels from up here in Ohio. You know, Jesse, it's, I think, in the middle of the night, so he's probably how many beers deep? But I know he's also going to tell us what's already happened. I keep hammering him to tell me what's already happened so I can put some winners, and he just says that I'm being greedy. So he refuses to give out what's already happened for tomorrow, and I can't break him of that. But before we get into our MLB slate of 3 games today, followed by best bets, don't forget to check out. It's still $2 Tuesday, because when $2 Tuesday's football season, a lot of the plays are not until the weekend. And so I know Jeff, at least, I think Joe and Dion are also still live, so you can get those plays. I believe Jeff said that he goes tonight. So make sure you get over there and still get that play. Take advantage. It's not just $2 on Tuesday. Not to mention, you can get that Mr. Perfect guy over there. You can get all of the rest of September, which has been pretty good. You can get that for free if you buy his October stuff. So lots of deals. I have some plays up as well. Tennis is never stopping, and I hammer tennis every show, even when it's baseball. And so go get those plays. But yeah, we're building our way back up. We've hit with our big college football, and everything below the line we haven't been able to hit with. So let's get a little bit more baseball as we're coming down the stretch here. Only a few weeks left. Really important games. First game we're going to start off tonight with is one that we just got a little bit of news. Maybe it's the Orioles facing the Blue Jays. First game of the series. Blue Jays just played a 5-game series with the Rays, and they're off of an 11-0 drubbing. It's Jordan Lyles, who is going to take on what looks to be like Trevor Richards here. Jeff will be able to tell you what he's looked like recently, and I think he's probably just an opener. But the Orioles and Blue Jays have kind of switched roles as to what they looked like in August. Blue Jays had a really down month in August, completely turned it around for an 11-4 September so far, whereas the Orioles hammered August and are now a very even 7-6, limping to the line for the playoff stretch here. So how do you think the Orioles can do? Let's start with Jeff. Can they get themselves back? These are big games against the Blue Jays, or are the Blue Jays just going to hammer home, making the Yankees sweat?
Yeah, we just found out if Trevor Richards does go, we just found out about it. Dr. Chuck got notification right before the show actually started. Trevor Richards actually pitched in that routing that he was talking about yesterday, that 11-0 loss last night to Tampa Bay. Trevor Richards actually went 2/3 of an innings and gave up 5 of those runs on 3 hits in under an inning pitched. And, like Dr. Chuck also mentioned, he looks like he's just going to be an opener too. And they have a bullpen behind him that has struggled even more at home. They actually have been a pretty good bullpen this season. They have a combined 3.72 ERA. But at home, their combined ERA is over 4, posting a 4.15. Jordan Lyles is on the other side. He's got a 10-10 record with a 4.62 ERA. And he got routed in his most recent outing too. He went just 3 2/3 innings against Boston and allowed 8 earned runs and 7 hits over that short outing. He's got a 2-1 record against Toronto this year, but he's got a 4.91 ERA, allowing 6 earned runs in 11 innings. The Orioles are 9-2, and Lyles starts since the second half of the year. But I'm keeping an eye on Matt Chapman tonight, who's had some success against Lyles recently. Baltimore had back-to-back wins. They swept a 2-game series, but that was against the Nationals. And Toronto is closing out this season on a run. I mean, they're 20-9 in their last 29 games. They're putting up 4.6 runs in those games. And we've mentioned it before. They're off a big loss yesterday, but they're 7-0 on the money line after scoring 1 or less runs in a loss against the division. So the pitching puts a little bit of a question mark for me. I was leaning Blue Jays. I'm still leaning Blue Jays, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So break down a little bit on the side there. I know when it comes to Jesse and his Orioles, even though I think it's his Blue Jays, I'm always interested. And I know for sure in this game he has a win in doubt type play. So let's see what he thinks about Jeff leaning Blue Jays in this spot.
Well, guys, I'm glad to be back here with you guys. It's been a while since we've all been on the same show, and I don't know if we can call them my Orioles. I mean, I think all three of us have been riding the Orioles in the second half of the season. But since I haven't seen you guys in a while, I don't know what you guys have decided to do. But I sort of went off of the Orioles in the beginning of September, and one of the reasons why I did that is Tampa Bay and Toronto went on these big winning streaks and sort of created some separation. And it appeared to me that, the motivation for the Orioles to keep pushing would be waning as they fell further behind. But I jumped back on them the other day when I did this show. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. Can't quite remember now. The days just keep on rolling together. But yeah, I mentioned their schedule. They're 4.5 games back right now. Their next 6 games, of course, they start a 3-game series here in Toronto. And then they got 3 games against the Detroit Tigers. So if you pencil in those games against the Tigers as wins, if they can get something out of this series in Toronto, I mean, they could be right back in this race by the end of next week. Whether or not they can do that or not remains to be seen, but that's certainly a motivating factor for them. And I look at this matchup against Toronto coming off an 11-0 loss, taxing the pitchers. They don't even know who the starter is going to be today. One thing we do know is it's not going to be one of their top-tier starters because those guys have recently pitched. So they're going to probably have to be digging into the bullpen a little bit today. I like the Orioles on the run line. I saw it earlier this morning when I was doing my analysis for this game, +1.5, -142. The Orioles are 13-4 in their last 17, game 1 of a series. And the Orioles have won 6 of the last 10 outright head-to-head meetings versus Toronto. I like the value here with the Orioles on the run line.
Yeah, I really like that angle. And if you're wondering where I'm going, even though I'm the host here, I love the Orioles on the run line. The spot is fantastic, not just because of their dominance on the run line. And Jesse brought it up that, maybe he has gone up and down with the Orioles, and that's kind of what you have to do. You can't just blindly, although what I'm getting to here is if you just blindly fade a team this year, I'm sure you know who the team to fade that would make you the most money is, and it's the team we talk about a ton on here, the Los Angeles Angels. But if you just blindly bet the Orioles every single game, up until today, you're up 3 dimes, and that's more than twice the next best team, which is the Astros. You're up $1,300 with the Astros blind betting. Orioles, it's 3 dimes. So it has been worthwhile, but you have to find the spot to maybe get off. And so got some angles there, a little bit back and forth, although like we've seen recently on these shows, the Blue Jays could win by 1, and everybody be right. And so, we love those kind of spots, especially. But even though I'm the host, I had a lot of stuff prepared on Jordan Lyles. The dude's a stud, and the last start speaks for itself. I'll take anybody almost always the next game after they give up 8 runs in 3 innings if they've looked that good on the whole. And we talked a little bit, 17-4 is a little misleading, and I will back a pitcher off of that kind of game, no doubt, maybe on the run line just to be safe because you're not laying a whole bunch. But let's, without further ado, welcome to Charlie's Creation, my namesake, of course, always in the chat. Moving on to the next game here. Really interesting game. It was only one interleague game on the slate. It's another first of the series where the Yankees, always in the news, go to Milwaukee to face the Brewers. It's Frankie Montas, one of the consolation prize for not getting Luis Castillo at the trade deadline there, and many Yankees fans are still lamenting that against Adrian Hauser. Not like Jesse said, this is not one of the top tier Brewers starters. Only thing I have to add before I get to the analysis is that Brewers are one of the better teams with Craig Counsell as the manager. In the last 4 seasons, there's not a lot of teams that have been home dog in the first game of the series. There's not a lot of teams that haven't. The Dodgers are the only team that have never been a home dog in the opening game of a series at home. Astros and Yankees are the next 2. Brewers only 10 times. They're 3-7 straight up in those games. So I'm going to get an idea of where he thinks the Yankees only a $1.20 favorite. Where do you fall on that, Jesse?
Well, I don't like the Yankees very much. And I look at this as a letdown spot for New York. They've gone on a nice run. They've now given themselves some separation from Toronto and Tampa Bay. Those 2 teams have cooled off a little bit. It's an interleague game. the Yankees are in a comfortable spot. I don't like the way Montas looks. 1-3 with a 5.08 ERA in his last 5 starts. This is a much bigger game for the Brewers. They're a game and a half out of a wild card spot. And Hauser, not the greatest numbers overall, but 3 straight wins in his last 3 starts. He's only given up 2 earned runs in those games. He does have an ERA of 3.21 at home as opposed to 6.14 on the road. So a home start against a Yankees team that might not need this win as badly as the Brewers do. I'm going to take the Brewers here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so interesting. We could get into a lot of other like SDQL type numbers, but yeah, the Yankees this short of a favorite is a little bit of a head scratcher. Let's see if Jeff thinks that the Yankees continue on this very mediocre trend, even maybe if they are in a little bit of a fat and happy spot. I think they need to be watching out for Blue Jays and Rays.
Yeah, you asked for it, Dr. Chuck. I'll give you a couple of those SDQL numbers. The first thing with the pitchers that I was looking at, the one thing that did stand out to me, Jesse talked a little bit about Adrian Hauser's recent starts in the last 3. The stats come out to a 1.38 ERA in the last 3 starts. And in his 2 starts in the month of September, the opponent batting average is just .086. So they're batting under 100 against him in his 2 starts in September thus far. But both teams are coming in pretty hot. I mean, the Yankees have won 8 of their last 10. Milwaukee's won 5 out of their last 7. But some of the 2 SDQL things I guess I looked at mainly were both of these teams are coming off a day of rest. The Yankees are just 2-6 in their last 8 games with at least 1 day of rest. Milwaukee's 7-3 in their last 10. And then you look at interleague play, the Yankees are just 1-6 on the road against the National League this year. They have 5 straight losses, and Milwaukee's 13-4 versus the AL. They have 6 straight wins at home. They're 4-1 in the last 5 as a dog. And the Brewers are 11-2 this year against American League teams that are allowing 4.4 runs or less. And you guys mentioned, Dr. Chuck mentioned Craig Counsell too. He's got a history against this AL East division. He's 21-8 as the manager of the Brewers against the AL East. Should be exciting. And with the interleague and those rest trends that I was looking at, I'm signing with Jesse. I think I'm looking at the Brewers tonight as the dog.
Look at that. We are just if Joe D'Amico's watching, I hope he didn't give us a thumbs down on the analysis there. I will say one thing, not to confuse everybody and make everything really confusing, but the Yankees as this short of a favorite on the season, 13 times, they're 9-4 straight up. But 9-4 also to the under, if you're interested in things like that, where you could even get Brewers as a home team on the run line. Pay a little juice, but, solid value. And then we're going to move on to our third game here, which is another, top tier team. I think it's the only team that's clinched the playoffs so far, officially clinched the playoffs so far in the Dodgers. And Dustin May's back. He spent most of the season on the IL, came back, got the Marlins twice. That worked out well. Got the Padres the next 2 times. Not so good. I'm a big Dustin May guy, but I've kind of played the wait and see, and I got lucky that I did. Facing Logan Webb in San Francisco, Giants are really hard to figure out because they will give you a little glimmer of they're going to make a run at this wild card, and then they fall off a cliff again. Dodgers are unbelievably consistent, basically took the day off against the D-backs, and it paid off for the D-backs as they got the win. How do you think they start this series off? We'll go to Jeff this time with Dustin May versus Logan Webb, and Dodgers already in the playoffs.
Yeah, Dustin May, just his 5th start this year, so his numbers are a little limited that we're looking at. But he's 1-2 on the year with a 4.29 ERA. He does have a better ERA on the road, but obviously, we'll see him improve with time, I would assume, based on what we saw last year. So really only time will tell when it comes to stats, but at least in proven numbers, San Francisco definitely holds the pitching advantage off of the performances this year. I mean, Logan Webb's on the mound. He's 13-8. He's got a 2.88 ERA and 29 starts on this season. And in the last 7 outings, his ERA is under 2. He was 2-4 in August, but now he's on a 2-0 run to start September with a 2.77 ERA. But like you mentioned, he takes on a Dodgers team that again is on a hot run. They're 8-3 in the last 11, but they've dominated their division this year. And, you know, the Giants are following that trend that the Red Sox kind of followed that has seemingly ruined both of their seasons, or time will tell. But just their play against the division has been horrific, to say the least. I mean, San Francisco's 21-36 against the division. And regardless of their opponent, they're 14-33 this year as plus money underdogs. So the Dodgers in this one, even with that pitching advantage to San Fran, they have the bats to really light up any pitcher in the league, let's be honest. So I like the Dodgers.
Yeah, and you brought it up. I'm really big into starting pitching when it comes to baseball, and I'm really big into the analytics of it. And Logan Webb, I think it's Kevin Thomas that says Logan Webb has got to be going into that office and screaming at the GM that he just needs to trade, because this dude's put up absolutely. I mean, we're talking about Sandy Alcantara on a non-playoff team. No one's talking about Logan Webb. It's a bummer. The guy's 13. You brought it up. He's 13-8. That's 21 decisions. He should be 19-2. Based on his FIP. And if he was 19-2, what would the narrative be at that point? Because I don't know if people know what Sandy Alcantara's record is. But yeah, I mean, the Dodgers getting healthy, if Dustin May is healthy and Clayton Kershaw's healthy, they really might make an interesting pitching rotation challenge against the Mets. And so let's see what Jesse thinks about the Dodgers. You know, they have a lot of games to play here before the games that matter come along. And so how will that affect them?
Probably won't surprise you that I absolutely agree with your guys' take on it, but I've come to a different conclusion. Jeff's closing statement was that San Francisco's got the big edge in pitching with Webb, but the Dodgers' bats are so superior that he's going to take the Dodgers regardless. And I feel the same way, but I can't, you know, this game just doesn't mean that much to the Dodgers, and you know, and the Giants aren't going to make the wild card. So I really don't want to be on a side here. I'm not interested in betting against the Dodgers or on them. So I'm going to look at the total. I did check the weather report. It sounds like it will be favorable conditions for hitters, the wind blowing out as it always is in San Francisco, nice warm air. And then you got Dustin May allowing 10 runs on 9 hits. 8 walks. That's probably the runs and the hits are one thing, but the 8 walks are probably the key there, the lack of control. And yeah, the Dodgers bats, you know, they're going to get a few on, no matter how good Webb's pitching, they're going to get a few on them likely. The total 7.5, I did see some plus money on that. The best line I could find was over 7.5 plus 102. So for me, that was the best value on this game.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I came to that conclusion, but I kind of agree with that, and I have a hard time not backing the Giants, period. I can't give up on them. You know, I think Kyle is probably laughing off air right now at me with my Giants in the playoffs ticket. But just to follow up, 8 losses, 4 no decisions for Logan Webb. Of his most recent, 22 earned runs in those games. So I mean that's the offense that he's dealing with. So feel bad for the guy, but you know, I digress. It's a season that has lost for them, and Jeff brought up why 21-36. Basically, if you can't beat the D-backs and the Rockies, you probably don't deserve one of the new expanded playoff spots. So that brings us to our best bet section. Again, don't forget, subscribe. You will be alerted the second we start a show. Follow us on Twitter, because I know for sure the two of these guys and everybody else that's on the show is going to retweet the show right when it starts. We go live every day at 3 on MLB Full Count through the full season, regular season, and then we're going to start with the playoff show after that. But we're going to go to best bets now, and I'm going to go over there to yesterday guy, because it's no wonder he's tired and he can't figure out the days. It's always yesterday to him. And Jesse Schule, and see what his best bet is today and what he's got going on the gridiron for the weekend.
All right. Well, like I said, I do have 3 picks up for Saturday already for college football, 3 picks up for NFL. I do have that big ACC matchup tonight. So you want to take advantage of that. Get September free if you come and buy October. My best bet, I'm looking at the Texas Rangers at Tampa Bay. At first glance, it looks like it could be a pitcher's duel. You got Martin Perez going for the Rangers against Corey Kluber for Tampa Bay. And you got to hand it to Martin Perez. He's having a heck of a year. He's really pitched well this year, but it hasn't always translated into wins for the Rangers. And Corey Kluber, of course, at one point, he may have been the best pitcher in baseball. He's he's a little older now, not quite as effective, but still solid. Very effective for Tampa Bay. In fact, he's got great numbers against Texas. The Rangers are batting 167 against Kluber over 84 at bats. And as well as Perez's pitching and looking at this price, I mean, the Rays are so much better of a team. The price at 150 with a Rangers team that's 4-14 in their last 18 overall. And some really dramatic stats here. The Rangers have lost 9 of their last 10 versus right-handers. Tampa's won 10 of their last 11 versus southpaws. So at 150, I don't care if Perez is going for Texas. I'm taking Tampa.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. And you may have looked at this, you may have not. I love when we put best bets out early because I always want to figure out what we're talking about. And the Rays, just in this spot specifically, the Rays are 6-0 straight up. And all we need with Jesse is the money line. They're 6-0 straight up off of scoring double-digit runs. They're like 30-10. That's this season. They're like 30-10 under Kevin Cash after scoring double-digit runs. And so it would be really doesn't matter that Martin Perez is on the mound because I love that guy, but I'm not getting off of the Rays maybe waking up on offense. So let's move on over there to Jeff Michaels and let's see if he him and I, we talk a lot. We're just a few miles apart over here in Ohio. Very different than Thailand. And we like our teams. My team's no good. His team's pretty good. And so we'll see what he thinks about his baseball team, not football team, on his best bet.
Yeah, I don't even know if I would call it very good. I mean, they're playing in a division that's obviously struggling, but you always get a kick. We always talk about pitching staff, and I like Cleveland's pitching staff to come through again tonight in a big series opener against Minnesota. They may not have the names and the offensive bats of a World Series team, but their pitching rotation and their bullpen is just consistently solid, no matter what's lost or traded or kept. And Tristan McKenzie's another example of that. He may just be 10-11 this year, but his ERA is still pretty impressive at 3.05 in 27 outings. They're 7-3 in his 10 home starts, where he has a 2.84 ERA. And his ERA in 2 starts in the month of September is 1.42. He's had a lot of success against the division. Cleveland's 8-3 in his starts against the AL Central, but they've won 6 straight. Bailey Ober takes the mound for the Twins tonight. He's back making his first start since June 1st. This goes back, we were talking about it earlier with pitching injuries and coming back from those. So I won't put too much faith in Ober's numbers. He was 1-2 in 7 starts with a 4.01 ERA, but that did include 5 starts against that AL Central division, and he posted a 4.37 ERA. But 4 of those 5 games were against Kansas City and Detroit. So 4.37 ERA against the Royals and the Tigers is nothing to write home about for sure. So Minnesota's on a long stretch of games against the division, and they have another 4-game series against the hot Cleveland team now. They're 7-20 in the last 3 years on the road after 6 straight games against the division. And Cleveland struggled yesterday. They allowed 5 home runs, losing by 6 runs, but they're still 8-2 in their last 10 games. And over the last 2 years, Cleveland's 19-9 after losing by 6 or more runs. So I like them to bounce back in a big series opener and Tristan McKenzie to pull through tonight. So give me Cleveland on the money line.
Yeah, and I probably talk about this a lot, and this might be one of the things that Jesse makes fun of me the most about. And I think he probably likes the most about. But when someone tells me, and this is not what Jeff was saying, he was saying the opposite. But when someone tells me someone's record is 10-11, I almost just automatically vomit. It just comes up as vomit, especially when he's got Tristan McKenzie type numbers. It's almost enough with Tristan McKenzie type actual analytics and a 10-11 record. It's almost as worth backing without looking any further into it, because the people are going to fade someone that's 10-11 because they think wins and losses matter in baseball, and it just don't. We could probably talk for hours about it, but they don't matter.
What about his whip? Let's talk about his whip.
Yes, the whip is also good.
Glad Joe was here in the comments to catch that one.
That was for Joe.
Yeah. But yeah, so sorry, I cleaned myself up. The vomit is gone. But I'm going to go with my best bet now, which is another play that I play. It's probably the most common play that I put out for my best bet on this show, a first 5 under. Here we get the Nationals and Marlins. It's the doldrums of the NL East. I often joke that you wait until the end of the show to get to the best game on the slate, and luckily that you've done that and you got there. It's Josiah Gray at home, a guy I love, came over in a Dodgers trade, and the Jesus Luzardo is on the mound for the Marlins. You get a full 4 here. I don't know why we're getting a full 4 here, other than the bookmakers don't give a damn. They're like, what are we hanging for this game? Who cares? There's no liability. I love those kind of spots. Luzardo is 11-2 to the under on the first 5, just period, not himself. He's been amazing. The Nationals are, a shell of what they could be. This is a season they gave up on purpose. The Marlins are hideous on offense. And just looking into what they've done after scoring 5 or more runs, which was a run explosion for them, because we joked about it. They scored 10 runs in a game on Monday in a doubleheader, and that was enough runs almost for half of a month for the Marlins in the second half of the season. And to that point, after scoring 5 runs this season since the middle of July, they averaged 2 runs in the following game. And that's what I'm looking for here. Josiah Gray should shut them down. He's got a little bit of a higher over-under on the first 5, but that's largely because he plays in a really tough division when he's facing the Phillies or the Mets or the Braves, some of the better offenses that are going out there. Today he gets this team. I think this is a 1-0 game through 5. I don't know why we're getting the hook on the 3.5 up to 4. I don't know why this isn't 3. So hopefully you can still get a 4 out there. I think worst case scenario is we push there, and this looks like a 3-0 slate tonight. So don't forget to check out everybody's football plays this weekend. I know that Jeff and Jesse are both loaded and killing it. I aspire to be as good at them in football. I got off to a good start last night, hitting up the prop market on Thursday Night Football. So
you were number 1 last year, though, right, with college? So you're not really aspiring that much to be like a guy that had a good week, right?
I'm aspiring not to go 1-9 again. Yes, that's what I'm aspiring to do. So if I can cut out any more 1-9 weekends, then we'll be all right. Because I think Jesse was 9-1. So those are almost the same. I think they might have just transposed my numbers. Maybe that was what happened. But yeah, so check us out. Don't forget, you can get any capper. You get all of football, all of college football for just $199. That's insane. The only deal better is to get Jeff's triple play package every day, or to get Jesse's entire rest of September, which is half of a month, for free, because I already know what he's got in his NFL and college football plays, and you want them. So go check out SportsMemo, and I think Jeff and I are going to hang out this weekend, so that'll be fun. We'll send you guys crazy sloppy pictures if that happens, and otherwise, let's get some wins on MLB tonight. Finish off MLB slate strong with the books that are light and soft, because they're not interested in anything to do with MLB. So let's get winners there, and you guys have a good weekend.